There's an old story that late one dark night, a man is on his hands and knees searching for something under a bright street lamp. A police officer comes by and says, What are you doing? What are you looking for? And the man said, I'm looking for my keys. So the police officer bends down and, starts to look around, and he says, after a while, Are you sure you lost them here? And the man said, No, I dropped my keys in that dark alley over there. And the police officer said, So why are you looking here? And the man said, The light is so much better. I guess that makes some sense. I mean, the light is certainly much better under a bright street lamp, and so if you lost your keys, they'd be easier to find there if you lost your keys there. And who wants to search in a dark alley? That seems difficult. That's going to be hard to find the keys in a dark alley. Isn't that the problem with things that are lost? That they're hidden and hard to discover. In our gospel reading today, Jesus tells two stories about searching for what is lost. And we get the context. Why is he telling these stories at all? Well, it's because there's been a lot of complaints at Jesus, a lot of grousing at him. Jesus, why are you hanging out with those people? People who are troublemakers and got a bad reputation. Shouldn't you be spending your time with faithful, devoted types? The good people, like us. Lots of complaints. In response, Jesus tells two parables. One is this beloved parable of the lost sheep. There's 100 sheep and one gets lost. And the shepherd leaves the many and goes into the wilderness to look. Now let's be clear that the wilderness is not a simple search. The wilderness is, get your ears pricked up, that's a place of danger and even threat. It is not going to be easy to look for that sheep there. And then this other parable is a story of a woman who has 10 coins, and she loses one of the coins. And I love the detail in the story. It says, she searched diligently. She swept, and she got a lamp. It must have been dark. Can you kind of imagine this woman when she's digging around in the couch cushions, she's turning the room upside down? She is going to really search. This coin is not out in the open where the light is good. From the context, I think we get it. Jesus is saying something about his mission to search for people, especially people who might be hidden. And so in his day, who was that? It's the tax collectors and sinners and prostitutes, those who were considered pure, those who were considered outcast. You don't belong. Jesus is on a mission, and it gets him in trouble to let people know there's no outcasts from God's love. And we are invited to carry out that mission in our own day. Sometimes in society, and let's face it, sometimes in our own religious tradition, there are people who are seen as less than. Why do we do that? We do. People who feel like they don't quite belong, they don't fit the model, subject to criticism and judgment. We look around, we can think of who that might be, and it's going to take some extra effort to seek out people who might feel hidden. Part of our mission is to make sure that we include everyone who might seem or feel marginal or outcast. Of course, any of us at certain times could feel a little lost. And actually, I sort of like the word lost more than I like the word sinner. Sinner is the traditional religious term, right? That's the term that we use all the time. Sometimes sinner feels so loaded, it kind of has this judgment. It's like somebody is willfully choosing evil. When I think a lot of the time, well, each of us, we begin to wander. Yeah, we make some bad choices for sure. Our ambition or our selfishness, our greed kind of starts to lead us down a path, and we get our priorities a little mixed up. But we've drifted, and all of a sudden, gosh, how are we here? Maybe we don't even realize that we are being self-destructive or hurting other people. We just find ourselves a little lost in the dark. Not where we want to be, not where God wants us to be. Now, when someone misbehaves towards us, let's say, for example, they say something rude, human nature is to ignore and reject them. And maybe that's the right thing to do in that instance. And maybe that person who said that thing might be a little lost or hurting themselves. We might not know what's going on in their life, job loss or divorce or illness or whatever, because that's hidden from us. Might be that person actually is the person that needs a little extra effort of kindness for us to try to find a way of having compassion and patience with them. There can even be parts of ourselves inside of us that can be a little hidden. We're talking about what might be lost and found in our spiritual selves, in our souls, in our psychology. I can say to you, I stand here, I'm 61 years old, and I continue to discover parts of myself, sometimes surprised by it. If I'm honest, sometimes I'm not aware, maybe you are too, and sometimes, if we're honest, we know what's inside of ourselves, but we'd like to keep it hidden, hide it from others. Might be something we're struggling with, sadness, or personal insecurity, or our fears, and we don't want anyone to see that. We shutter our feelings. Is it safe to bring that out into the light? People judge me. We might have other things that we discover inside ourselves that are wonderful things. But those two might take some diligent searching, some sweeping, some bringing the light of reflection into our hearts and souls to find those gifts hidden inside of us. Get in touch with our deepest passions. Sometimes it's only in a crisis that we become aware, wow, I have a resilience that I didn't know. I have abilities inside myself that I didn't think were possible. There it is, comes out into the light. Some of our spiritual work is to discover our full selves, bringing that out, the fullness of who God wants us to be. Underneath and in between all these stories of being lost and being found is a message about our God, our divine creator. We have a searching God who has a seeking love, a forgiving, reconciling spirit. No matter how buried, no matter how dark, will not stop searching, pursuing, unrelenting, so that no one is left out. The wholeness of each person is discovered, that what is lost can be found.